All right, let's really get into this. I want you to just picture this for a second. It's a perfectly quiet moment. Maybe the afternoon sun is slanting through your window, catching dust motes in the air. You've got a warm cup of tea cupped in your hands, and maybe there's a dog, let's call him Mochi, fast asleep on the rug. On the surface, it is a perfect picture of calm.
From the outside, you look completely serene, especially at work, right? You're the one who always has it together, the calm in the storm. People look at you and see someone who is composed, in control, but you and I, we know what's really going on under the surface, don't we?
Because inside your head, it's anything but calm. It's more like a high-alert command center buzzing with activity. You're replaying a meeting from 3 hours ago, and you're not just replaying the words. Oh no, you're freeze-framing that almost invisible twitch in your colleague's eyebrow the moment you mentioned your new project. You're analyzing the data. Now, a lot of people might call this perception a gift, a superpower. But today, we're going to put on our psychologist hats and call it what it so often feels like, an absolutely exhausting, non-stop cognitive burden.
You see, this ability isn't just a bit of sharp intuition. It is a constant state of processing a massive amount of data that most people's brains they filter it out. You see straight through the carefully constructed social masks people wear. You can sense a lie before it's even fully formed. You feel the unspoken tension in a meeting room so acutely it feels like the air has gone thick and you can barely breathe. From a cognitive science perspective, your nervous system is in a state of perpetual, low-level activation. It's always on, always scanning. And this is the real heart of the issue. The true complexity isn't just spotting the lie, it's seeing the reason for it. It's looking at that aggressive, overbearing boss. And instead of just seeing a monster, your brain, in a flash, shows you a deeply insecure, terrified person who is desperately afraid of looking incompetent. You perceive the profound wound that their arrogance is trying to cover up. And this combination of insight and empathy, it doesn't make your life simpler. It makes every single interaction infinitely more complex and emotionally draining.
So, how in the world does your brain do this? Let's be crystal clear. This is not magic. It's not some mystical sixth sense. It's neuroscience. It's all about a highly developed and, frankly, often overactive set of cognitive mechanisms that are masters of pattern recognition and, crucially, threat assessment. We are talking about your brain functioning as a supercomputer, running high-speed subconscious data analysis every second of the day.
In psychology, we have a term for this: thin slicing. It's the brain's incredible capacity to find meaningful patterns from very narrow windows of experience. And for so many people with this ability, it was trained into them in childhood. Think about it. If you grew up in a home where the emotional weather could change in an instant, you had to learn to read a parent's mood from the tiniest of cues, the sound of their footsteps on the stairs, the way they put their keys on the table. Your brain's threat detection center, the amygdala, learned that your safety depended on becoming a hyper-vigilant radar. It was a survival mechanism. This metaphor right here is just perfect. Imagine life is a stage play. Most people's brains are sitting comfortably in the audience. They see the actors, they hear the scripted lines, and they accept the performance at face value. But your brain isn't in the audience. It's automatically, involuntarily, backstage. Your subconscious is noticing the props that are about to break, the nervous sweat on the lead actor's brow, the quiet panic in the director's eyes. You see all the machinery behind the magic, and once you see it, it is absolutely impossible to unsee.
Every single human interaction operates on two distinct channels. You've got the verbal channel. That's the explicit data, the words people are actually saying. Most people focus almost exclusively here. But then there's the second channel, the nonverbal one. This is the tone of voice, the fleeting micro-expressions that flash across a face in a fraction of a second, the posture, the overall energy a person gives off. This is where the real story lives. And your brain, it's wired to prioritize this second channel, constantly scanning it for truth.
And what happens when those two channels don't line up? Your entire internal system flashes a massive red warning sign: data error. Your friend tells you, "Oh, I'm so happy for your success," but their voice goes up a half octave, their smile is tight and doesn't reach their eyes, and you feel a flicker of something else. Is it envy? Resentment? That mismatch, that cognitive dissonance is what triggers the alarm bells. It's not just a gut feeling. It's your highly logical brain signaling a critical inconsistency between two sets of data. Now, living with this constant, high-definition data analysis is profoundly exhausting. And it almost inevitably leads highly perceptive people, especially young professionals trying to navigate the complex social landscape of a new career, into three very distinct and psychologically taxing traps. Understanding these cognitive patterns is the absolute first step toward managing them and reclaiming your energy. So here they are, the three big psychological traps that can twist your gift into a curse. First, the accidental villain, where speaking the truth you see gets you labeled as negative. Second, the detective, where your analytical mind can never, ever switch off. And third, the emotional dumping ground, where you're everyone's confidant but have no one to turn to yourself. Let's break these down, because I can almost guarantee that at least one of these is going to feel like you're looking in a mirror. Okay, first up, the accidental villain. In Greek mythology, Cassandra was a princess cursed by the gods to see the future, but to have no one ever believe her warnings. Sound familiar? This is you in the modern workplace. Society, and especially corporate culture, runs on a very delicate ecosystem of polite fictions and unspoken rules. And then you come along pointing out that the exciting new strategic initiative is actually a half-baked plan that's going to lead to burnout. You're not thanked for your insight. You're labeled as not a team player or too negative. You become the villain simply for articulating a reality that everyone else is trying very hard to ignore. Next, we have the detective trap. This is where your gift starts to turn toxic. Because you've learned you can't blindly trust what people say, you come to rely solely on your analysis of nonverbal data to keep yourself safe. A simple compliment from a boss isn't just a compliment. It's a potential setup for a future request. A friend texting back a few hours late isn't just busy. It's a data point that could indicate they're pulling away. You become trapped in this state of hyper-vigilance, constantly scanning for threats to protect yourself from being hurt or betrayed. But living in that heavy armor 24/7 makes it impossible to ever truly relax, trust, and connect with people. And finally, the third trap, the emotional dumping ground. This creates a kind of profound loneliness that's very specific to perceptive people, especially introverts, whose social battery is already a finite resource. Because you can read people so well, you instinctively know what they need to hear, how to soothe their anxieties. So what happens? People unload everything onto you. Their fears, their dramas, their secrets. They see you as this unshakable pillar of strength. But the tragic irony is that they are so wrapped up in their own performance, their own story, that they never look backstage to see how you're doing. You see and understand everyone with startling clarity, but you walk through the world feeling completely invisible. And this table right here perfectly illustrates how these traps manifest in the professional world, which is just a minefield of coded language. When a leader says, "We're all a family here," your brain doesn't register camaraderie. It instantly decodes the underlying tactic, emotional manipulation to pressure you into working late without complaint. When someone says they have some friendly feedback, you hear the passive aggression underneath. You're constantly playing a game of 4-knee chess while everyone around you seems to be playing checkers, and it is utterly, completely draining. So after all that, what is the solution? You can't just turn this part of your brain off. It's not a switch. Asking you to just stop overthinking is like asking someone with 20/20 vision to please see the world as a little more blurry. It's not only impossible, it's insulting. The goal is not to see less. The goal is to fundamentally shift how you respond to what you see. It's about developing the psychological skills to process all this emotional data without letting it completely burn you out. So let's get practical. Let's break down a 3-step toolkit for your mind to help you achieve this. And these are not just abstract concepts. They are daily practices designed to help you reclaim your mental peace and energy. We're going to cover strategic ignorance, empathic distance, and a powerful concept psychologists call radical acceptance, which we'll frame as accepting necessary risk. Okay, step 1, strategic ignorance. This is the fine art of separating your observation from a feeling of responsibility. So, you're in a meeting. You see a coworker sucking up to the boss while subtly undermining a colleague. Your perception is 100% accurate. Here's the practice. First,
Acknowledge the observation internally. Just say to yourself, I see exactly what's happening here. Second, ask yourself the crucial follow-up question, is this my fire to put out right now? 99% of the time, the honest answer is no. Third, you mentally label it noted, but not my problem, and you visualize it floating away like a cloud. A great way to build this muscle is through journaling. At the end of each day, write down just one thing you noticed but consciously chose not to engage with, and describe the feeling of freedom that came with that choice. Step 2 is developing empathic distance. A lot of your suffering comes from holding everyone, including yourself, to an impossibly high standard of authenticity. Instead, I want you to try this. When you see someone's mask, their anger, their arrogance, their fake positivity, remind yourself that the mask is almost always there to hide a wound. That arrogant person is likely covering up a deep well of insecurity. Your job isn't to be the hero who rips off their mask and forces a confrontation. Your job is to protect your own energy. A simple meditation technique for this is, before you walk into a tense meeting or a difficult conversation, close your eyes for 30 seconds and visualize a warm, protective bubble of light surrounding you. You can still see and hear everything clearly, but the negative, draining energy of others just bounces off your shield. This allows your frustration to soften into a more detached compassion, and it's your best defense against becoming that emotional dumping ground. And finally, step 3, accept necessary risk. This is your escape route from the detective trap, and it's rooted in the practice of radical acceptance. Your brain wants to analyze every single detail to try and predict and prevent any future pain. But life, relationships, and careers are all inherently risky. You can't control every variable. So if your intuition tells you there's a 20% chance a new friendship might end in disappointment, you have a choice. You can obsess over that 20%, or you can radically accept that risk and pour your energy into enjoying the 80% of potential joy that's right in front of you. To put this into practice, create an end-of-day shutdown ritual. Take 5 minutes, write down all your work-related worries in a notebook, then physically close it and say out loud, I accept I cannot control this. I have done enough for today. This creates a powerful mental boundary, allowing your mind to finally rest.
So what starts to happen when you consistently use this toolkit? Your ability doesn't go away. It transforms. It evolves from a painful, sharp-edged burden into a profound form of wisdom. And this is especially true if you're in or aspiring to a leadership position.
In its raw, unmanaged state, your perception acts like an X-ray. It's a cold, clinical, and intrusive tool. It pierces through everything and exposes every flaw, every crack, every hidden insecurity, both in yourself and in everyone around you. It sees problems everywhere, and this often leads to harsh judgment and a feeling of deep isolation.
But with conscious practice, that harsh X-ray can transform into a warm, steady lighthouse. Now think about it. A lighthouse doesn't get angry at the dangerous rocks. It doesn't judge the stormy seas. It simply sees them for what they are. It stands tall, it remains calm, and it uses its powerful light not to expose and shame, but to guide others safely to shore. As a leader, as a friend, as a partner, this is your ultimate potential. To see the hidden anxieties and unspoken dynamics in the room and calmly, wisely navigate a path forward, creating psychological safety for everyone instead of fear.
You become a quiet lighthouse. You have the same incredibly powerful light, but you learn when to shine it, how to temper its intensity, and you understand that its highest purpose is to guide, not to interrogate. You become a source of quiet, calm strength. So now do yourself a favor. Stop analyzing the tone of my voice, stop replaying this in your head trying to find some hidden meaning, and maybe go get that cup of tea we talked about. Mochi says you've done more than enough for one day, you truly deserve to rest.